What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Citizen Defense Podcast. You have Todd and Evan here. If you haven't yet, go like and subscribe. If you enjoy the content that we're putting out, please share this with your friends. That helps more people find us. It helps the algorithm push us to the front, suggestions, and help people find gun-related content if they're looking for higher levels of training or to add to their skill development, right? So, uh, starting off, we're going to make a bit of an announcement here in January of 2025. I will be offering classes at Big Tex Ordnance in Conroe. So if any of y'all are in or around the Houston area and you're interested in training with me, you have the opportunity to do that starting next year if you don't want to make the drive to where I do my home base training over here in College Station. So there is that opportunity happening there. I'm trying to work on maybe some other curriculum that maybe I can offer another class through there later on after that initial first class with them. But they have been an awesome group over there. They've been wonderful to work with, and I'm looking forward to continuing that in the future. So, yeah, you can find all the information for the class online at www.citizendefense.net. And I already have that on the calendar. So, if you're interested in training with me, you can register early if you're interested. Outside of that, we'll have some classes in College Station coming up here in the near future. Probably at the beginning of September is going to be the next defensive handgun applications class. I just had one this last weekend. Was it last weekend? Yeah. And we had a good turnout, a good group of shooters, and everything went well. Some learning occurred, some points were made, and some progressions were made as well. So with that, we're going to move into our topic. Hope everybody's had a great week here. Anybody that was in Texas, if you're in the Houston area, I hope the hurricane didn't damage you too bad, or you fared pretty well. We have some friends over there that had some slight damage, but they did okay. I know Evan's over in that area. I think he fared fairly well. But yeah, so if you haven't followed me on anything else yet, it's I hate to admit this, right? I really hate to admit that I gave into this social media uh thing that's going on right now, but TikTok, right? I have been
Mhm.
anti TikTok for quite a while, but all the cool kids are on it, and that's where a lot of content is. And so I decided, okay, I better try this thing out and see if I can maybe drive some traffic, some better content. And so far, it's been working out really, really well. Now, there's a little bit of drama that popped up on TikTok not long ago. And if you follow me on there, you know what I'm talking about. But there was a gentleman, somebody else had posted a snippet from another instructor, and the clip starts off with you see this gentleman with the big burly beard. He's a fairly large individual, and he's completely kitted out. He has a plate carrier, all these mags, like this crazy extra pouch on the front. He has um, a duty pistol with a leg strap, and then he's got a second pistol that is a different brand of pistol. Okay, so no compatibility whatsoever. He has that secondary pistol in his kit, in his plate carrier. And the guy's talking, he goes, I am a NRA certified instructor. And as soon as I heard that part, I go, ooh, I got to go. And the guy that was making the clip was calling him out, saying, like, hey, man, this is why we vet our instructors, all that good stuff. Like, this guy has nothing on his page about his shooting skill or anything of what he's capable of. And that dude was pretty much calling him out, like, hey, go shoot a bill drill and record it. Show us that you can shoot. At least show us you can shoot.
Mhm.
I think that's fair. But it piqued my interest on this guy. So I go to his page, start looking at stuff. TikTok had nothing. There were like 3 videos on there. He's got a couple hundred followers, but like his videos are there's not much. Okay, guy's got to have Instagram. Look up Instagram, dead end. Nothing there either. He has his website on there. Now, in the clip, he did say that he was like claimed to be ex law enforcement and that he does executive protection. And, I just, a lot of people, some people tend to throw that around, regardless of what they did, right? So he says he's prior in law enforcement. Could he have been a dispatcher, a jailer? I don't
Mhm.
know. So I try to take those statements with a grain of salt. So I went to the guy's website, and the only way I could really identify this is after kind of doing my own website work, right? You have a lot of more of the AI generated paragraphs, and there are some key things that you can, once you see it a couple times, you can kind of point it out, right? Like, okay, that was probably mostly written by AI. And so I go to his classes, and he has like just a very, very small paragraph description of the class, which is pretty broad. Okay, it really didn't tell me, okay, what can I expect to learn in this class. um Went to go look at his about, and all it was is like, I teach because of this reason. Like, there was no background of his law enforcement experience. There was nothing listing in his expert, or not expert, um, executive protection. There, he didn't even have his NRA certified instructor credential. He didn't even have that
Hmm.
listed on there. There was nothing about any open enrollment training or anything else. And to me, that raised a lot of red flags for me. Okay. To me, it's, what is it about it's like there's something about your experience you're trying to hide. And I don't mean this anyway about like to bash on NRA instructors, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with guys that are NRA instructors. But the problem that I have is, if NRA instruction is what you're going to hang your hat on, they have nothing to do with full kit. They have nothing to do with tactics. Like,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
hanging your hat on the NRA certification, you shouldn't be getting full kitted up and
Yeah.
tacked out and all this extra stuff, and then trying to sell people classes based on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. We took that, and it's not an overly hard course to take. I took it on relatively lacking practice. That was I think we got ours, shortly before wife got pregnant, all that stuff, and I've kind of stopped shooting since then, but even before that, I had slacked off, and it wasn't, like, did I struggle a little bit at the beginning? Yeah, but that was just because I hadn't shot in a little while, and I wasn't shooting my best at the end, but we were still able to pass it. That's kind of one of those weird. That's a weird one to hang your hat on. That's hard to me to build an entire curriculum of courses off of.
yeah, it's it's the thing about it is, when it comes to NRA stuff, is that a lot of the curriculum is very much outdated. And all it's going to come down to is it's by the book, right? Now,
Hmm.
I even touched on this in the video. NRA certs have their place. Like you just said, you have NRA certs, I have
Hmm.
NRA certs. And the thing about it is that, for the most part, they're probably, if you're going to do any sort of state licensing curriculum,
Hmm.
you're going to have to be NRA certified, because for so long that has been considered the standard
Yeah.
states, that they just, in states being the way they are, they're lazy and they don't want to have to go through all the process of changing everything. They just let that be, even though that there is better stuff that would be actually produce better instructors than NRA, but it's recognized across the country. So for state requirements, at the very minimum, you're probably going to have to be NRA certified instructor. Um, as being recognized in all 50 states, that was kind of where I started off right at the get go, because I didn't know if we were staying in Texas, and that was recognized in every single state.
Hmm.
And so wherever I went, I at least got to take that with me getting started. Okay. I want to make that clear. Getting started. All right. That wasn't going to be my end all be all. Um, but yeah, there are individuals that hang their hat on that, and I really don't understand why. Because when I did the NRA CCW course just because it was another one of those. It was quick, it was budget friendly, it was another certification, and it was beneficial for insurance purposes for sure, right?
Mhm.
And so I went and took that one, and I mean, there were people that were in that class that, I mean, I really don't know how they even passed the LTC qual.
Yeah.
And they were like barely squeaking by on this. And, we're shooting this stuff on like the big B-27 targets. And it's just like, these are people that are going to be able to, that are going to teach, that are going to be able to offer classes to somebody. Um, I'm trying to talk about this in a way that I'm not just dogging on other people that wanna teach, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody, there's always a place for basic handling and things like that, but when it comes to
Mhm.
defensive pistol work, I think people need to be a lot more careful about whose curriculum they're looking to digest, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean. You need to vet who you're gonna learn from, and, with social media being what it is, it's very easy for someone to personify something that possibly they're not, or to exude, let's say, a level of skill maybe that they don't that they don't possess. And that's kind of what we're establishing with, if someone just says they're NRA certified instructor, be careful with what you're learning from them, because that's not a very high bar to attain to. Let's put it that way. Like, it's not a that's if you're saying that's the highest level of training you've received, well, you've got a long way to go as far as being, in my opinion, well versed. Does it mean you can shoot a pistol? Yes. Does it mean you can handle it safely? Yes. But if I'm wanting to do much after that point, it just, if someone's saying that's their big thing that they do or that they've done, they may not get you to that next level if you're ready for something past that.
Now, talking about, like, with the plate carrying stuff, there's
Hmm.
another gentleman in our area. I don't even remember his business name, but I wouldn't put him on blast like that anyways, but I want people to be aware of this. It's come up in a couple of the local Facebook pages that he's advertising his business, and he is one of those same ones, right? He's offering basic classes and Texas LTC classes, but in all of his images of him teaching, he's got a plate carrier on. Why are you
Yeah.
It's and I don't know if that's a marketing thing, like, people like to see the tactical stuff. It makes them feel like they're getting somebody more experienced, and, like, man, I'm all for capitalism, right? Like,
Hmm.
if that's your marketing plan, that's fine. But the issue that I have with it is because, people that may have just got a gun for self-defense or is looking to get started in training, they don't know what they don't know. And somebody says, yeah, I was former law enforcement or I was former military. I mean, we know people that are in the military and they didn't do a damn thing with firearms outside of basics training, you
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
people would take their word on it because they're in the military, right? So we gotta look beyond just the initial face value. And where I'm going with this is for people that don't know anything, the best way that I've heard it put for, the consequences of going to a bad instructor was from Tom Givens when I took his Range Master Instructor Development course. And he says the way he puts it is if you go take golf lessons from a bad golf instructor, the worst thing that happens is you have a bad game of golf. If you go take bad firearms lessons from a bad firearms instructor, the worst thing that happens is the wrong people get shot. You there's a good chance you spend the rest of your life in jail, families are ruined, and like it's the end of people's lives,
Hmm.
you know? And I think some of these instructors that aren't I'm not sure if they're really thinking about their students, right? Are they really training because they care about developing people's skills to be better self-defenders? Are they willing to go be an expert witness for a student that gets involved in a shooting
Yeah.
and trained with them? Are they willing to go speak on the stand with that? And that would be something that I I'd I I definitely know it would be very much on the nose to call somebody up that you're looking about training, like, "Hey, man, I wanna know if I ever get in a shooting and I've trained with you, can I expect to have
Yeah.
you" you know
Can I call you as a witness?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Character witness. Yeah.
that's kind of on the nose, but at the same time, like, you should be willing to for your
Hmm.
students, right? If you're not afraid, if you believe in your curriculum of what you're teaching, then that shouldn't be an issue. If you're not
True.
willing to do that, then to me, like, you don't truly believe in your curriculum, and you're just throwing something at people hoping to make a buck.
Well, and that's even where you have some type of you have your student shoot some type of a qual. Doug made us do what was it, the FBI qual at
Mhm.
one of our classes, just so, and he literally told us, he said, "Hey, I'm going to grade it. You're going to shoot the FBI qual, and at the end of this class, and then I'm going to keep that. That way, if it's ever needed, and it was for this exact same thing we're talking about." And he said, if it's ever, you're ever brought to court for a shooting or something of that nature, and I'm called as a witness, I can attest to, yes, he knew, here's the FBI qual. He shot it. He scored this. That verifies he is a, competent gun owner, competent at operating a firearm, taking instructions. Basically, it gave him something to stand on. Because even if you're an instructor and if you really don't have anything to go off of, I mean, even then, you can go in there and say, well, I taught him to shoot well, but is there really a gauge? So that's even something to think about, as an instructor, right? Or if you're going to an instructor, maybe that's something, you see if they're offer, maybe you say, hey, do you have some way to verify that I'm of a certain skill level? And you could even bring up this conversation that we're having. Depending on the instructor, maybe they do, or maybe you bump them with something. They're like, oh, maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah, and I think one of the other big red flags is if they have anything on social media. And some people don't, right? Some people aren't real big on social media. I totally get that. But if they are trying to be active on social media, you should be able to go on their page and see training content in relation to somewhat of what they're teaching or whether they compete or something to give you some idea of what their actual skill level
Hmm.
is. Um, I mean, I try to post any content that I get shooting wise. I try to post that because I want people to see that I'm not trying to sell you snake oils, right? Like,
Hmm.
this is my ability, this is what I'm capable of, this is the level that I train at for myself. I may not be able to get you here in this class, but a lot of these training concepts are going to apply to the training that you're in, right?
Yeah.
And, competition too. We talk about that all the time with competition. I go out and compete. A lot of people don't. And that's just
Hmm.
another way for me to learn as a shooter, you know, better ways to identify deficiencies, become a better shooter myself to try to help other shooters along the way as well. And, there are people that can get hung up in competition and they don't want to do any of it. And that's, it's not tactical or anything like that or whatever. But to me, it shows the willingness of somebody to actually develop their skill set, especially
Yeah.
of what they're trying to teach.
Yeah. So I didn't, and I got sidetracked and I didn't make a comment on it. But going back to the whole plate carrier thing, and then I'll come back to the shooting, showing your skills and all that. But I'll be honest, I don't care to take a course from someone with a plate carrier. I don't own a plate carrier. I'm not in any situations where I'm going to be wearing a plate carrier to engage somebody. I don't wear I'm not going to conceal carry and wear a plate carrier. To me, that kind of defeats the purpose. So like with guys that's how they broadcast themselves. I'm like, do you go out to the store wearing your plate carrier? Do you? go in your everyday life wearing your plate carrier? I'm confused because if unless I'm taking a course to where I'm expecting to go into a situation with a plate carrier, which personally I can't come up with something in my day-to-day life where I'm going to be engaged in combat or actively seeking combat in a plate carrier. I mean, I don't live in a movie. Like it that generally if I'm going somewhere in a plate carrier to engage somebody, more than likely it's illegal. So like yeah, I've already made some weird decisions. Anyways, this is just like, like right, like my mind starts running down those. I'm like, in what practical application can I even justify learning from somebody in a plate carrier? Because that's not something I'll ever like a chest rig. The only time I might wear a chest rig would be maybe something like I haven't, but I've heard guys that like go out in grizzly bear country, they'll wear one because it's easy to get it out should you walk up on or a grizzly bear charge you or something like that. Okay, I can buy that maybe then, but again, that's a very rare, and we're talking about for maybe a week's worth of time that I would wear that. I I, I have a hard time buying into the whole uber tactical guys because it's just not practical. No one in the civilian world that at least is anywhere in my bubble or even that I've trained with wears that. Because I'm calling civilian means you're not a contractor. You're not a contractor that carries a gun overseas or something like that. You're a civilian, meaning you don't have a military contract, something like that. You're not involved in some form of armed defense activity, however you want to define it. You're like, we don't operate with plate carriers. I don't operate with three, AR mags carrying on my front. I mean, I have a hard time placing where that would be practical when I'm never going to train that way because I'm never going to respond that way. Now, shit hits a fan, everything goes to hell in the world. Guess what? All of us have got issues at that point. I mean, right? Like the last thing I'm worried about is did I train with a guy that's carrying um, so that's kind of my stance on the whole plate carrier, any type of flak jacket, anything like that. That for me, it's just not practical, right? Like if I'm looking at someone that's going to train me, that look at them as do they look like they do the same things I do? Like if I see an instructor wearing regular clothes and doing videos drawing from concealment, which now we're moving into the social media, okay, that's me. That's what I could do. Or if I see him with, even a hip outside the waistband holster, but just wearing regular clothes, practicing moving your garments. Okay, that sounds like me, even a competition shooting. That sounds like something that I would be interested in. That sounds like a skill I could learn that would help me progress as a shooter. I think the social media platforms are very good, and they've been very good for a lot of gun content. There's a lot of really good instructors to follow, a lot of really good pages to follow that give you good information. And and the good instructors tend to put a lot of information out there. So, from that aspect, like you were saying, look at do they have any videos? Now I get people start all the time, new people, right? There may not be a lot, but there should be some. You should, like you mentioned, shoot a build drill. Hey, maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe you want, if you're an aspiring instructor, go out there, show your build drill, you know, shoot a couple other drills. Show me something that tells me you at least try, right? If all your videos are you standing there holding guns, just talking, at some point I'm kind of like, well, do you shoot? Do you do anything? But also to the point of TikTok, like I actually still don't have TikTok, so I've never downloaded it. So like I'm not even seeing the world that you're seeing in. But if you for advertising in this day and age, you need to exploit every means there is. Um, I think most people, well, we're not considered young anymore. We're mid 30s now, so we're certainly not young, right?
Thanks for bringing that shit up.
Well, I'm calling it as it is, right? Um, but like Facebook isn't popular. I mean, I work with guys that they don't even have a Facebook because they never got one because they're young enough that by the time they came around, that was the old people stuff. That's kind of like how MySpace was before Facebook, right? And Facebook pushed it out. And now even Snapchat and obviously TikTok, right? Those are the type of social media that are dominating younger crowds. And if that's what you want to reach, put out good content and look at the content that's being put out.
Yeah, and on the practical note, which is, a very good point, um, you know, I think it's important that guys that are wanting to teach that they make sure they clarify the context in which their training applies to, right? Like, I will
Hmm.
openly tell anybody, like, "Hey, man, my classes are focused on concealed carry.
Hmm.
Civilians that wanna carry a gun for self-defense and learn how to shoot it defensively. That's
Hmm.
it. That's all it is. Nothing
Yeah.
more, nothing less. If you wanna wear a duty belt out there, more power to you, man. If you wanna show up, with full 511 kit and everything else, like, I'm not gonna tell you no because I'm glad you're there training, right? But just understand that that's outside of the context of what
Yeah.
I'm teaching.
Yeah. Right.
And
As the instructor, you may go, "Hey, this is design. Is this what you wear every day?" You
and
know.
and that's kind of the point that I'm getting to, right? Because if you see an instructor and he's got a stuff with a lot of kit, but he teaches civilian classes, you might ask him like, "Hey, man, I noticed you're carrying a lot of kit. Do you teach law enforcement? Do you
Yeah.
teach, you know, private security? Or do you offer training to those guys? Because if you do offer training to those guys, then that would make a lot more sense to me of why you apply that to your training. But
Yeah.
if you're running around in kit and all you're doing is teaching your local or your state's concealed carry permit class, then that's a big red flag to me. And like I said, newer people that are just getting into training, they don't know what they don't know. We've all been there, right? We all
Hmm.
started somewhere. So, and that's kind of why we're talking about it now to help people kind of weed through the stuff because there is no certifying body out there that says, hey, you can or cannot be a firearms instructor. Literally, I mean, you can go get a business license, say you're a firearms instructor, start posting a bunch of shit on social media, and if you can sell classes, you're a firearms instructor.
Yeah.
Guys like Matt Pranka and Ben Stager, they've been doing a they've been doing a bang up job calling out some top guys in the social space and trying to have conversations with them and if the guys are honest, they'll have a conversation with them. But there are a lot of them that they reach out to, um, and they won't want to come on and have the conversation with them. And it's not that they're like just dogging on them, but they're asking them honest questions about their training and stuff. Well, how do you justify this? How do you justify that? And if the guys can't give you answers, then it's like they
Hmm.
tell the story themselves, and that's essentially what they're doing. They're trying to get these guys to an open public, and they do it live. That's the smart thing about it is they do it on Instagram live, so there are no edits, there are no cuts, there's nothing like
Yeah.
that. So it's all you're getting it, as it is. But yeah, it's I would so kind of going back on let's kind of step it out of what we should be looking for
Hmm.
instructors. What is the context of what they're teaching?
Yep.
What do they have any detailed do they have any overview of class curriculum? Okay. And when I say over, I'm not saying that they need to write out their curriculum to the T, but they should have some bullet points in there of some of the main topics that are going to be covered in the class so you know what you're getting into. I think they should have a decent about section covering what they did or what their experience level is. Do they compete? Do they not compete? Do they have certifications? Were they in law enforcement, military? What that training consisted of? I think that should be put out there
Yeah.
because ultimately, at the end of the day, I can tell you that's what a lot of people are really going to be basing their decisions on. And then I just had it on the tip of my tongue. There's one other thing I was going to say, but I lost it. But yeah, you can take over from there. I'll think of it.
Well, I mean, so I don't know if it didn't really sound like how do they present themselves, right? Do they present themselves as it goes back to what we were talking about, plate carrier, all that stuff, right? Do they present themselves as someone who conducts himself similar to you, I guess is best way I should put it. What am I wanting to gain from this instructor? Am I wanting to gain how to be a Navy SEAL? Well, if I'm wanting to get a glimpse into some type of special forces type thing like that, well then okay, maybe I'm going to look for the guy with a plate carrier. Maybe I want to go, go maybe that's what I just want to do for fun is go, try to learn tactics that the military uses or private security uses. Okay, I get it, right? Go with a guy that looks like someone from that field. Absolutely. If I'm wanting to learn, I'm walking through the grocery store and I see a threat, how do I respond? Don't go with a guy that looks like he's in the middle of a war zone. Go with a guy that generally shows you content or presents themselves as someone who works in that space, concealed carry, take a it's real easy to look at them, we've been discussing this whole time. How do they present themselves? And the biggest thing I would say, even beyond how do they present themselves, is what do you want to learn? If it's basic how to handle a pistol, it may not really matter. If someone offers a basic pistol course and all you're trying to learn is how to shoot a pistol, you're not trying to learn how to work from a holster, you're not trying to learn anything like that, then probably most instructors can teach you how to operate a pistol. But, once you start getting past that entry level, try to pick someone that reflects what you want to do. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yeah. And you reminded me of what I was going to talk about. What I was going to say is if you talk to them in any, definitely over the phone, but if they are trying to convince you of their skill level or their experience or what there it is that they're doing, that's a red flag for me too, right? Because I've had people call me and they ask me about, what am I teaching? What does this consist of? What does that consist of? And I just straight up tell them, hey, this is my course. This is what I cover. This is what I do. And I just tell them, this is my training. This is what I've done, just so you kind of know a little bit about me, and then that's it. I don't go and try to convince them of what I can create of them, right? I'm not
Mhm.
trying to sell them on something. If they're interested enough and they're serious about training, they're going to look a little bit further anyways. They're going to probably go check out my social media. They're going to look at the websites. They're going to look at the descriptions, and they're going to make a decision for themselves if they want to go train, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and that's where I leave it. I don't try to force anything on anybody. I just try to give them the best information that I can about divulge everything about myself, be transparent and open with them about what my curriculum consists of, and they can make the decision themselves if they want to train. Now, when it comes to curriculum, this is I found this very very funny. So this individual that I'm talking about that I started this conversation, he did not comment on anything uh, at all. And then he made a follow up video about this, about people, bashing on him or whatnot. And in there, he brought up points that things that I made, particularly about stuff about his website that he doesn't have information in there about certain things. And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to go and write out my full curriculum." Okay, we just talked about that. It doesn't have to be a full curriculum, just some bullet points of coverage of what we're talking about. And then he goes on to say, I also don't want to put my curriculum out there in case somebody sees it and likes it and wants to steal what I'm doing. To me, that's a big concern of that number one, you're hiding what you're doing. Number two, in the firearm space, like, come on, man. Like, pretty much 90% of what everybody's teaching is like the
Yeah.
same shit. The
Yeah.
only thing that changes is the delivery
Hmm.
different methods or different concepts. The all this shit's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, nobody's stealing nothing.
Well, I
And
mean,
and
yeah, I
then
think, yeah.
he also says that some of his experience came from his so first it was law enforcement and executive protection, and then he's saying it also comes from his experience in the Coast Guard.
Hmm.
What did you do in the Coast Guard? Were you raiding submarines out of Cuba?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or were you answering the phone, right? Like there's no
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no information in all this stuff. So it's just one of those things like I didn't add to it. I had made my point and I was done with it. And generally I wouldn't even do that to somebody, right? Because I don't want to give people that are trying to go about the wrong way uh credit for what they're doing. Uh and like I said, mostly because I view it because I don't feel like that they're taking their students' lives seriously on why that their students are choosing to come from them.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly agree with that. I mean, I think we've hit the red flags pretty well, right? We've hit some major ones. I would say overarching, right? The overarching theme of this is do a little bit of homework. I'm not telling you spend hours researching somebody, but hey, I'm going to take a class from Todd. Let me pull up, okay, where does he say I can get to know him? Okay, his website. Let's first go there. Look at that. Does it pass the funny look test? Do you feel like you look at it and you get a good idea of what Todd's selling? Okay, cool. Oh, where else can I find him? Oh, I can find him on Instagram. Well, let me go see if he's got anything there. Oh, look, they've got stuff there. Okay, cool. I can see, oh, he's shooting. Oh, look, he's using a holster. Oh, okay. Looks like someone I could learn concealed carry from. Just maybe 15 minutes, before you pay a couple $100s to go take a class is probably worth that investment, right? That little bit of time to be like, does it just pass a funny look test? If you're new and you don't really know what's going on, well, like I said, look at it from the perspective of what do I want to get out of this class I'm taking? If I've never owned a pistol before and this is going to be the first time I shoot my gun that I bought, okay, well, can this guy shoot a gun? Yes. Okay. Does it look like this guy's safe with his gun? Okay. I think I'm good. It may be as simple as that. Um, but it's just a little bit of research, and that's kind of what we've hit on, right? Is
Yeah.
just a little bit of research goes a long way. And you would do that if you're looking for someone to work on your house or someone to do anything else for you. You generally are going to do a little bit of research, whether it's someone that's used the company before or something like that. It like you would do that in other aspects of your life. Why not do it when you're trying to learn to shoot a pistol? Anytime you're going to take a class, you're going to find out, hey, does this person know what they're talking about? If you have a dog, you're going to go get it trained. Are you going to drop it off anywhere? Or are you going to try to drop it off to somebody that might know what they're doing? Um, I don't know. I feel like that's a very simple thing you can do, and it'll help save you money and save you time on the back end of possibly not liking the class you're taking.
Yeah, 100%. So, covered instructor red flags. We're going to switch to a different topic here because this is something that I really didn't think that I would experience. But as gun people, we always have the 2A topic about where criminals are getting their firearms. It's not people buying them legally and all this good stuff. So I have about a year ago, we had a break in at my workplace. It wasn't into the facility, but they broke into a bunch of vehicles on the back end, and we thought it was an inside deal, somebody that previously worked there because it was all the managers' cars that got smashed, and so we're like, yes, they fired the wrong person,
Hmm.
but a couple of them had their firearms getting stolen. They had handguns in the car. One of them's no longer there anymore. The other one still is. So he had his serial number for his gun, filed it as stolen, told the police. They said, hey, this is going to go into a national registry. That way, wherever it's found, these numbers are going to pop up. They're going to get flagged. So about 2 weeks ago, I was talking to him and he said, "Oh, hey, they found my pistol." Because I am clearly the gun guy at work. Everybody knows me as that guy. And so they always stem these conversations with me. And he says, "Yeah, they found my pistol." I'm like, "Dude, that's awesome." And he said, "Yeah, I got a call from the sheriff in Michigan." Okay. Now, mind you, we are in College Station, Texas. He said, "Yeah, the sheriff called me. I answered the phone and he said, "So I have good news and bad news." He said, "The good news is we found your pistol." He said, "The bad news is we're keeping it because it was used in a homicide in Michigan." I now
Uh,
have firsthand account that this shit happened, right? Like I can
yeah.
tell people, no, for sure. Like I'm just not preaching to the choir from what I've heard from other people. Like this stuff actually happens, right? Criminals
Hmm.
are stealing handguns and or weapons, whatever. They're selling them to other individuals. They're shipping them to other places, and that's where they get used in violent crime. I mean, it's I don't know
Yeah.
what you can say about that.
Yeah. I mean it. So that, yeah, right. That brings us to another. Our next topic was when we had talked about this a little bit before the show is how do you store your guns at home, and what information or how do you catalog your guns that you have at home? So I will say I'm probably not the best about this. I do a good job of keeping. So at home, currently, I have a what is it, a 64 gun safe. I think I don't remember. I bought it on Black Friday, but I believe it's a 64 gun safe. And that's where all of my long guns, pistols, that's where everything resides. I also keep important papers in there, obviously, because it's fireproof. Safe stays fairly full. Um, However, like I don't keep my everyday carry gun there because that's obviously going to go with me. I don't come home and then stick it in the safe. And then anyways, so that's where I keep most of my guns, right? I have a gun safe, cool. I will say the problem is like if I'm going to go dove hunting, I'll leave my shotgun sitting out. If I'm going to do something else, I'll leave my gun sitting out, which unfortunately leads me to the possibility if someone breaks into my house, they could take whatever gun is not in the safe. Um, Also, my son, luckily, he's still a baby, so I've moved all the guns away. He's not quite mobile yet, so that's makes it not as big of a worry, but they're in a part of the house that's got like a baby gate stuff that he can't get through. Um, but what that with him getting older and probably going to be walking, moving around, being mobile soon, he got me thinking about what do people think about as far as keeping their guns at home. um, Something that I need to do that I haven't done. What I need to do is take a picture of all my guns, and like I'm gonna probably keep that in uh, my iPhone notes or something like that, but I need to take a picture of all my guns and put the serial number under them so that something like this, if the gun gets stolen, I am I can at least report it, right? And if it gets used in a murder, I'm not gonna have to defend why it wasn't me that used the gun to do that if it gets traced back to me. Um, so that's kind of my big thing is I'm also about to do some changes to my house, and then I'm gonna actually keep all my guns, especially with my little one getting older and gonna start being more mobile. I'm actually gonna put them behind a locked door that he can't get through, right? An actual key lock. And I know that kind of goes weird against the whole home defense and all that. And I've got some ideas that I'm going to work on as far as the home defense part goes and where I'm going to keep those guns. Um, but the gist of it is I'm going to keep my guns locked away somewhere that one, I don't have to worry about people stealing them, and two, any gun that's not out, I'm going to try to make sure and either put it in a lockbox that obviously only opens for me, um, or put them somewhere that are not able to be accessed by anyone but me. Um, basically to keep them out of kids' hands. But I didn't know. So, Todd, what do you do generally with yours? Kind of
So
broad overview.
everything that I have in regards to a vehicle, now this is something that I definitely want to change it, but I want to do a different storage for in the car, something that's easy though. I'm not sure exactly which way I want to go. There
Hmm.
are ones where they have rapid access safes that you can, mount to like the bolt at the seat mount down at the bottom.
Hmm.
It's actually bolted to the car. There are other ones that you can put under the seat and it just has like a steel cable around it and things like
Hmm.
that. Currently, so the only time I leave mine in my car is when I'm at work. Okay,
Hmm.
because I can't have it in the building with me, otherwise that I would. But I always park at the very front, like at the busiest,
Hmm.
the most foot traffic area. I park right there. So that's some sort of level of deterrence there from any
Hmm.
breaking and entering. And then I put mine in the glove box and lock it. Okay. We have to
Hmm.
remember though that majority of vehicle break-ins are generally going to be, unless they're trying to steal the whole vehicle, it's going to be a smash and grab, right? They're going to smash it, they're going to break the lock, they're going to get in, they're going to start digging through every thing, trying to find anything of value that they can snatch and get the hell out of Dodge. So some sort of layer of a locking mechanism just as the glove box. Okay, I can't get in the glove box. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. Not that somebody couldn't shove a screwdriver in there or pry bar and jam it open,
Yeah.
right? Like that's still a possibility. I'm just trying to add some sort of layer there, just as if I had a lock with a cable tie around it. If they had a small pair of bolt cutters, I mean, it doesn't take shit to shear steel cable, right? I
Hmm.
mean, you can, as long as you have the tool to do it, you can do it. So nothing is absolutely completely secure.
Yeah.
When it comes to home, all my long guns and pistols that I don't shoot anymore, they stay in the big safe. I have a safe here. I have another big safe in the house that came with the new house. That was the selling point with the new house. So I have a big safe in there, and I use that for long guns, stuff that's important. Um, and then I keep a rapid access safe in my closet. And so that was my biggest deal because used to, when I was back in my bachelor days, I didn't have to worry about anyone else but me. I could leave my pistol on the nightstand
Hmm.
and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Kiddo came along, things changed.
Hmm.
For me, anything in a rapid access safe that is high outside of arm's reach is ideal. Right now, it's about waist high. So he can't get to it yet. He's 3. He can't reach it yet. But I will tell you, he notices that that's something that I'm in and out of all the time. And whenever I do dry fire, like if he's around, like in the garage or anything like that, he sees me dry firing. Daddy, what's that? Daddy, what's that?
Yeah.
I do that, Daddy. The other day, he was
Hmm.
my timer. I said, okay, Brody, yeah, go beep. And he would go beep. And then I'd, run a dry
Hmm.
fire drill. And he thought that was the most awesome thing in the world. Like he loved that. So sometimes he's my shot timer for me. But yeah, I use a rapid access safe for my defensive pistols or anything like that, and I try to screw them down. Right now, the one I have isn't screwed down just because I haven't had time to get to it.
Hmm.
I screw it down just because, not that they can't rip it out, right? Somebody
Yeah.
deserves
It's
enough
just
to rip
another
it out.
layer.
It's just something to keep it
Yeah.
from being moved. But that's the way that I approach it currently.
And then have you kept like a written log or anything like that of your
I
serial
don't.
numbers?
So there was
Yeah.
years ago, I had it planned to do that. Uh,
Yeah. That's kind of how mine is.
because my dad had his truck stolen from him, and he had a couple of old guns that were stolen out of there, and he never got them back. And so I was like, "Yep, one day I'm gonna lay all my
Hmm.
stuff out, and I'm just gonna write down serial numbers on a piece of paper, and I'm gonna put it somewhere else in the safe or somewhere that it's kind
Yep.
of, you wouldn't think to take that, or what is this piece of paper with all these numbers?" And then I'd have it to
Yeah.
report it if ever. And as you can see, I have yet to go do that. So
Well,
that is
yeah.
definitely on my to-do list
Well,
of
I know, and that's something that sucks. Like I've thought about it. Like I thought about it back when I first started, collecting and buying and all that stuff. And then I just never did it, right? And then the more you get, the more you're like, man, that's a lot of work. And it's just easy to put off. But it's one of those things of what's going to suck is, God forbid something happens and they were to get stolen, like, well, now I'm completely out of all of them because I can tell you what they are, but I can't tell you their serial number. So that's about as good as pissing in the wind. That's what kind of sucks. So like I've almost even thought about taking,
End up
taking,
all your
uh,
rifles. One of your
yeah,
rifles ends up in Pennsylvania during a political rally,
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
wondering what
right.
the hell's going on.
Yeah. But like honestly, I've thought about even taking a picture, like doing it on like making a page on a Word document, making a page, and then just print it out, and then don't ever save it. Right, just as you get a gun, take a picture of it, serial number, print it out, and then add it to like a binder or something. Right. So to me, the like what I because I've thought about just doing all the serial numbers, but then I'm like, man, what if I can't remember? What if multiple guns get stolen? I'm like, wait, which gun was it? Which serial number goes to what? I
Yeah,
don't know. Yeah, that's one of those things I feel like you could do it and make it really easy to use. It's just one of those things that's not something it's just gonna take a while, and
yeah,
it's like there's nothing to gain out of it, right? The only time you gain something out of it is if your guns get stolen. However, I would argue that if your guns get stolen, it would be something you'd be very happy to have. So I don't know. That's one of those things like while I'm redoing this area and hopefully create gun room, which would create an area for me to do the podcast out of and all that stuff. Like if that all works out, that's what I'm planning on doing is like when I'm in moving everything in there, part of that's going to be inventorying everything, but we'll see if that happens.
you got to build it big enough to be your bourbon room too. It's got to be your gun and bourbon room.
I mean, it'll, it would probably be big enough for that. I mean, I have a plethora of guns, but I haven't added any in a while. So my collection hasn't grown for a while. So
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm kind of waiting to decide what route I'm going to go.
Are you gonna do like a cinder block wall section, kind of do something hard barrier like that, or are you going to? Is it just going to be like a dividing wall?
No, it's more than likely just going to be a dividing wall. I got to talk to the contractor about it first. I got to get quotes on it, right? This is all well and good until I get a quote and I cry because I
Yep,
got the
that's
quote.
not happening.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like, and it's going to be talking to them too about like what do they feel like they can do, easily. It would be cool to make it like an actual safe room, but probably not going to end up going that route with it, right? Like, I've seen the videos of the guys that have like an actual vault for a door and all that stuff. I'm like, that would be badass. I just don't think I have the budget for that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know how much those vault doors
I
cost.
don't,
Got to
I
be.
don't know, but I can tell you it's out of my price range.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. When it comes to storage, I mean, I keep it pretty simple. I don't go too crazy. I know there are folks that do like the hidden access stuff and things like
Hmm.
that. I'm not really worried about that. I do have mine set. My rapid access space is set in like it's an obvious spot, but it's behind my clothes. So
Yeah.
like I can push my shirts back, get to my safe, get my stuff out for the day, and
Hmm.
then just pull my shirts back out. And unless you're digging through stuff looking, you're not
Yeah.
really gonna know it's there. It's just some sort of visual barrier.
Yeah.
Little things like that can could make a difference in things getting overlooked, prevent them from being stolen. Not saying that it's guaranteed, but is just something that could aid in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we so a couple of the guys that took class with me last weekend, they compete some. I've been talking to them a little bit more on a personal level too, and so I'm trying to get them to shoot more like USPSA and Steel Challenge, but
Hmm.
like kind of talking about the instructor stuff kind of got me into this or brought me to this point. They're a little bit more into the tactical type stuff,
Hmm.
but they do like the running guns. Have you seen those? So it's like They go to like up towards Dallas and out towards Waco and a couple other
Okay.
places. I think they're going to San Antonio in a little while, but it's like, you have like a start point, like the entire course is like, say it's like 5 miles.
Oh
And
wow.
in between there, there's shooting stages amongst that
Ooh.
5 miles. So,
Ooh.
but all of it's on steel.
Yeah.
They had to contact steel, and it's between, it's like some of it's rifle, some of it's pistol, things like that.
Okay.
So they're trying to convince me. They're like, you need to go do a running gun with this. I'm like, first of all, I don't think I'm in shape enough for that right
Yeah. Yeah.
now. Second of all, I'm just not sure I have the time to allocate to do that one because that's a little bit more of a commitment than the local weekend max
Hmm.
that I can go do in a half a day, right? That's definitely a full day commitment for them doing
Yeah.
that. Um, but yeah, so I'm thinking about trying to talk to them and maybe see if we can get something together sometime. I mean, I know it's hard for you and us to
Yeah.
get together for where you're at and everything that's going on, but I'd l- they're younger than us. They're a good group of guys,
Yeah.
and they're open and honest, and I think it'd be a fun discussion for to have it sit down and all of us together and talk about the different aspects of competition between USPSA and then even something like that is further like the run and gun
Yeah.
and you see between the two and where you can benefit from either or
Hmm.
what can
Yeah.
be
That'd be
practical,
cool.
what might not really be practical because he said one of them was telling me that he said they had some at the last one they went to, they did have some 1,000-yard shots.
Ooh.
And he said, I'm running a 5.56 16-inch rifle.
Oh,
He's like,
that
that's what I
sucks.
got. And he said there are other people showing up, with like straight bolt chassis and
Yeah.
everything, iPods, bags, and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And he's like, dude,
Precision rifles.
he's like, I got my rifle, I got my pistol, I got my mag pouches, and I'm going, man. Like this is all I got. So they're making it work with what
Yeah.
they have, but it's interesting see and hearing them talk about some of that stuff. So
Man, that'd be pretty wicked. 1,000 yard shot with a ooh after running.
and that's what one of them
Ooh.
said. He was like, I made hit at like 600. He was like, but the rest of it was,
That's yeah, no, that would be impressive.
yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's what they talk. We've had the discussion. They're like, oh, you need to shoot more rifle, and it's like, well, I've shot rifle. It's just that rifle is a lot more expensive, and
Ah, true.
it's not as for me. It's not as practical,
Yeah.
right? Like anything that happens to me on my day to day, what I'm going to have my handgun with me probably.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
that's where I want to gain the most skill development for me. So, but anyways, we've had all that conversation with I've
Mhm.
had that with them, so I think it'd be fun to get them on sometime. It'd be nice to do an in person sit down
Yeah. That'd be
sometimes.
cool.
So maybe one day we can work something out. So
Yeah. Yeah, if we can plan it far enough out, then I should be able to make it work.
yeah, we can do something even if we meet somewhere,
Yeah.
maybe. But
Cool.
anyways, all right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. I know some of it we got a little bit in the weeds. We kind of talked a little bit long on a few things, but either way, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I hope it helps y'all out. If any of y'all are new to firearms and you're looking to get into some formal training, I hope this helps you be able to weed out some of uh, the silly gooses out there trying to teach that they're not really offering any practical applications to what is going to be uh, focused towards your lifestyle and how you're going to be living. So just keep that in mind. Outside of that, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. And until next time, y'all stay strapped and stay safe.